Hey guys, tonight we step quietly into a world far removed from your cozy bed and warm blankets. Imagine the soft golden glow of an Egyptian dawn spilling over the Nile's lazy curves, while you trudge through dusty streets toward the house of the dead. You're an ancient Egyptian mortician, waking up early to the scent of reed smoke and the distant calls of market vendors setting up for the day. You probably won't survive this job long without a steady hand and nerves of papyrus. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. Are you settling in for bed or just waking up? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The sun is barely climbing when you reach your workspace, a small shaded courtyard just off the riverbank, surrounded by walls etched with symbols of protection. Here lies your arsenal: jars of natron salt, bundles of fine linen, sharp obsidian blades, and the heavy stench of incense meant to mask less pleasant odors. This morning, like every morning, you prepare your tools with ritual care, running your fingers along the smooth stone edges of your knives, wrapping bundles of linen with precise folds, and mixing balms with the faintest hint of myrrh. You have learned over years that these small details make a difference, not only in preserving the body, but in honoring the sacred journey that lies ahead. Your first task is to mentally prepare yourself. It's not just about physical skill, it's about respect. Each body carries a story, a life lived beside the ever-flowing Nile. It's whispered among your guild that embalming was almost considered a sacred art, one that linked the mortal world to eternity. You remind yourself gently as you breathe in the dry, warm air that your hands will become the bridge between these two realms. Interestingly, historians still argue whether morticians of your time believed they were merely preserving flesh or actively helping the soul's passage. Some think the rituals were practical, others spiritual. But whatever the belief, your role is undeniably pivotal. You gather the linen strips first, unraveling them with care. They are finer than the rough cloth worn by laborers, almost delicate to the touch, and your fingers move slowly, as if coaxing the threads awake. Nearby, the natron awaits, a naturally occurring mixture of salts harvested from desert flats that will later dry the body. You place the jars of oils and resins nearby, their scents subtle but grounding. You've learned that the sweet smell of frankincense calms the nerves during the process, so you light a small charcoal disc to burn a gentle incense. As you arrange your workspace, the distant sounds of the morning, waterfowl on the river, a donkey braying, a child's laugh, seep through the stone walls. The world outside continues, oblivious to the solemn work you are about to undertake. But for you, this is where the day truly begins. You pause briefly to smooth back your hair and adjust your simple linen tunic, worn thin by years of hard work. You remember an odd tidbit overheard once, that sometimes apprentices would secretly smear crocodile dung on their faces as a crude sunscreen. Less than glamorous but practical under the harsh sun. You chuckle quietly. Mortician or not, life here demands some strange adaptations. Your fingers brush the edges of the papyrus scrolls resting on a nearby table. Ancient texts detailing spells and prayers meant to protect the deceased on their journey through the underworld. They remind you that every motion you make has meaning beyond the physical. This is not mere preparation of a body. It is a sacred duty. As the sun inches higher, you feel the heat pressing gently against your skin. The cool breeze from the Nile offers a fleeting comfort. But you know that soon, the real work will begin. The moment when the body arrives and the quiet ritual unfolds. The morning sun has climbed a bit higher, casting long, soft shadows across the courtyard as you hear the steady footsteps of the procession approaching. The body has arrived. You stand by the entrance, watching as the pallbearers carefully carry the wrapped form of the deceased, draped in simple white cloth, their faces solemn beneath the weight of loss and respect. You feel the familiar chill in your spine, not from fear, but from the gravity of the moment. Receiving the body is no mere formality. You examine the wrapping closely. Even the smallest tear or loose end could affect the preservation. You gently lift the cloth to inspect the skin beneath, a task that requires both delicacy and experience. You notice the faint scent of embalming spices already applied by the family, a sign of their care, but also a reminder that your work will soon take over, transforming the body for its eternal rest. You steady your hands as you move closer. It's a private moment, one that carries its own rhythm and pace. Around you, the courtyard falls into a hushed silence, broken only by the occasional soft murmur of prayers from attendants. You take a moment to recognize the familiar shape beneath the cloth, the subtle curves and lines of muscle, the calm repose of a face freed from life's worries. In your mind, you offer a silent farewell, a wish for safe passage beyond the veil. This first inspection is vital. You check for signs of injury or disease that might complicate the embalming process. In one instance, you recall an unusual case where a noble's body showed strange bruising. Historians still argue whether it was an early form of illness or a ritual mark. Such mysteries keep your work from becoming routine, reminding you that every body tells a unique story. As you prepare to remove the body's outer wrapping, you are careful to preserve the dignity of the deceased. Your fingers move slowly, unfolding the layers with respect. You remember a curious fact. Some morticians believed that speaking softly to the body during this phase helped ease the spirit's transition. A gentle reminder that your role extends beyond the physical to the spiritual realm. The atmosphere is charged yet calm. You carefully lay the body on a stone slab in the center of your workspace, its cool surface a stark contrast to the warmth in the air. The scent of natron and resin mixes subtly with incense, creating a strangely soothing aroma, as if the courtyard itself is preparing to cradle the soul for its next journey. As you stand back, you catch a glimpse of the family's faces, hopeful, grieving, and quietly trusting you with their loved one's final transformation. It is a responsibility you never take lightly. This trust is why you have trained so diligently, mastering not only the physical techniques, but the rituals and prayers that accompany each step. With a final glance, you begin organizing your tools for the next phase. The obsidian blade gleams faintly in the sunlight, waiting patiently. Linen strips lie ready for their task, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a familiar thought surfaces. Despite the solemnity, you find moments of quiet humor in this work, like the time an apprentice accidentally glued his fingers together with resin and had to be freed by a patient colleague. You remind yourself that while some may see death as an end, for you, it is a complex process of renewal, preservation, and respect. And so, with steady hands and a calm heart, you prepare to continue the sacred work. The first real work begins with washing and purifying the body, a step that is as much ritual as it is practical. You bring a large basin filled with fresh Nile water, cool and clear, shimmering softly in the morning light. With slow, deliberate motions, you begin cleansing the skin, careful not to disturb any fragile areas. The water feels soothing to your fingertips, even as the weight of your task presses gently on your shoulders. Natron salt, harvested from the dry desert flats, awaits nearby in coarse heaps. Its strange, powdery texture seems almost magical. It has the power to draw moisture out of the body, preserving it for the long journey ahead. You sprinkle it lightly over the skin after the wash, watching as it settles into every crevice. The salt's dryness is almost hypnotic, a tactile reminder that the body must be prepared to resist decay and time. Your hands are steady, but you never rush. Every movement has meaning, Every touch honors the sacred trust placed in you. You remember that historians still argue whether the cleansing rituals were meant primarily to purify the physical form or to cleanse the soul in preparation for the afterlife. Perhaps in this job, the two are inseparable. As you work, you hum softly, a tune passed down through generations. It's a calming ritual, a way to keep your mind focused and the atmosphere gentle. Nearby, the smell of lotus flowers from a small vase mingles with the faint scent of myrrh, creating a delicate perfume that masks the sterner odors. One curious detail from your apprenticeship pops into your mind. In some cases, crocodile dung was used as a form of sunscreen by laborers out in the sun. Gruesome to think of, yet strangely practical. It's a reminder that ancient Egyptians were resourceful with whatever nature offered, even if it sounds odd to modern ears. You carefully dry the body, patting it with soft cloths, then prepare to apply the next phase of cleansing balms and oils. These substances are thick and rich, with a texture like melted honey, and a scent that lingers long after application. They help seal the skin and prepare it for the drying process to come. Momentarily by a quiet debate among fellow morticians about the best source of natron. Some swear by the salt flats near Wadi Natron, others prefer the mixtures found closer to the Nile Delta. Such discussions remind you that even in your ancient craft, there is room for differing opinions and evolving techniques. As you finish this phase, the body looks serene, almost untouched by time. The cleansing has transformed it, preparing it for the delicate steps ahead. You take a deep breath, knowing that this is the foundation upon which everything else will rest. Around you, the sounds of the world continue. Children laughing in distant courtyards, merchants bargaining softly, and the gentle ripple of the Nile. But here, in this shaded space, time feels slowed, wrapped in layers of linen, salt, and ritual. You are a guardian of transition, standing between life and eternity. You glance at the linen strips once more. Their soft texture contrasts with the rough desert outside. It is time to move forward, to take the next careful steps toward preservation and peace. Now comes the delicate and some might say slightly unnerving part, removing the brain. You steady yourself for this step, aware that it requires a precise hand and a steady mind. The ancient Egyptians believed the brain was of little consequence to the soul's journey, which is why it was often discarded. But you know better. It's a tricky task that demands respect and care. You carefully position the deceased's head, gently tilting it back to expose the nostrils. Your tool of choice is a long, thin, hooked instrument made of bronze, designed specifically for this purpose. You insert it carefully, navigating the narrow nasal passages to reach the brain tissue. It's a job that requires patience. The slightest wrong move could damage the skull or compromise the body's appearance. While you work, you can't help but recall a somewhat strange tradition among your peers. Some morticians would stuff the nostrils afterward with fragrant resins or herbs to mask any lingering odors and to honor the body's sanctity. The scent of pine and myrrh often lingers long after your work is done, a subtle reminder of the care invested in the departed. Historians still argue about the exact methods used for brain removal. Some think the procedure was as simple as liquefying the brain with oils and then draining it, while others believe the hooked instrument was used to physically extract the tissue. You have your own preferences, refined over years, favoring the method that preserves the head shape best. As you continue, you notice how the deceased's facial features remain remarkably intact, a testament to the ancient art of embalming. This preservation isn't just for show, it serves a profound spiritual purpose. The body must remain recognizable for the soul to find its way back, a comforting thought that brings a quiet dignity to your work. You take a brief moment to reflect on the role of the brain in your culture. Unlike other civilizations that emphasized it as the seat of thought, Egyptians focused more on the heart as the center of intelligence and emotion. It's an interesting divergence, one that still puzzles scholars today. Your hands work slowly but confidently, ensuring every trace of the brain is removed while maintaining the structure of the skull. It's a precise balance between efficiency and reverence. You remind yourself to breathe, to stay calm, as the process can be physically and emotionally demanding. Once finished, you gently cleanse the nasal cavities and prepare them to be packed with aromatic materials that will aid in preservation and mask any unpleasant smells. This little detail often sparks a quiet joke among your colleagues about the perfumed nose of the departed, a humorous image that lightens the mood in the otherwise solemn space. With the brain removed, the head appears lighter, as if freed from the burdens of the living world. You place the body back on the slab with care, ready to move on to the next stage, the extraction and preservation of the vital organs. It's remarkable how the process feels both clinical and sacred, a dance between science and faith. Your role as a mortician is not just to prepare a body, but to honor the mystery of death and the hope of what lies beyond. Now you turn your attention to the vital organs, the heart, lungs, stomach, and intestines that require careful removal and preservation. This is no small feat, as these organs are believed to be essential for the afterlife, each with its own spiritual significance. You handle them with reverence, knowing their journey continues long after the body is wrapped in linen. The first step is making a precise incision along the left side of the abdomen, using your sharp obsidian blade. Your hands are steady, honed by countless preparations, as you carefully cut through muscle and skin without damaging the organs inside. The process feels delicate, like unwrapping a precious gift, with the added weight of ritual importance pressing on your mind. Once the abdominal cavity is open, you gently extract each organ in turn, laying them on a linen cloth with careful order. The heart, considered the seat of intelligence and emotion, is treated differently from the others. It's usually left inside the body or embalmed separately because it will be needed during the weighing of the heart ceremony in the afterlife. The lungs, stomach, and intestines are cleaned, dried, and packed with natron to prevent decay. You then place these organs in special canopic jars, each adorned with the head of a protective deity: Imseti, Hapi, Duamutef, and Kebesenuef. These jars are not just containers, they are guardians, ensuring the safety and purity of the organs for eternity. You pause for a moment, considering the spiritual weight of this task. The symbolism embedded in these jars connects your work to the gods themselves, an intersection of faith and craftsmanship that elevates your role beyond the physical. Historians still debate how strictly these beliefs influenced embalming practices, but in your experience, faith and function blend seamlessly. An interesting anecdote from your training surfaces. Some of your peers believe that an errant canopic jar, misplaced or broken, could jeopardize the deceased's resurrection. This belief sometimes leads to lighthearted teasing when an apprentice accidentally knocks one over, as if the gods themselves are giving a playful warning. You carefully seal each jar with resin to protect the contents and prevent contamination. The smell is pungent but comforting, a mixture of cedar and aromatic spices that has become part of your everyday reality. It's a scent that lingers long after the jars have been placed safely away. As you work, you hum a quiet tune, feeling the rhythm soothe your nerves. Despite the solemnity of the task, moments of calm and even humor punctuate your day. You recall a time when a young apprentice tried to name each canopic jar, turning the serious ritual into a game of who's who among the gods. Once all organs are secured, you cleanse the body's interior cavity with palm wine and spices, a final step to prepare the corpse for drying. This ritual cleansing is as much about purification as it is about respect, reinforcing the sacredness of your work. You reflect on how these practices have evolved. Some ancient texts suggest that not all Egyptians could afford such elaborate embalming, making you aware of the social layers intertwined with death rituals. You think about the quiet dignity in preserving a noble's body versus the simpler rites for common folk, both equally important in their way. The morning light filters through the courtyard, casting gentle patterns on your workspace. Your hands, though tired, are steady as you prepare for the next phase, drying the body with natron, a process that will take weeks, but is crucial for eternal preservation. You glance at the canopic jars, each a tiny temple unto itself, and feel a deep sense of purpose. Your work is far from over, but this step brings you closer to completing the sacred transformation. You now move to the drying and desiccation phase, a process that requires both patience and a keen understanding of nature's preserving powers. Natron, the crystalline salt harvested from desert flats, is your essential tool here, its ability to draw out moisture making it indispensable. You carefully sprinkle the powder over every inch of the body, from the head to the toes, ensuring that no part is left untouched. The sensation is almost powdery, dry against the skin, and you marvel at how this simple mineral can halt decay and slow time itself. This stage will last for weeks, sometimes up to 40 days, during which the body hardens and dries out, becoming lighter and more resilient. It's a slow transformation, much like watching a river gently carve its path through the desert. You prepare the body for this extended rest by laying it on wooden boards inside a well-ventilated chamber, shielded from the hot sun, but exposed to the dry desert breeze. While the body rests, you tend to other preparations, but your mind never drifts far from this sacred task. The quiet rhythm of natron's slow work feels almost meditative. You remember a curious fact whispered among your guild. Some morticians would add resinous balms periodically during this drying to help seal the body and maintain its shape. These rituals are a testament to the care invested in each step. Historians still argue whether the drying chamber's exact design evolved regionally or remained consistent across the Nile Valley. Some suggest differences in humidity and climate influenced the embalming techniques, making each mortician's approach uniquely adapted to local conditions. You feel a quiet pride in how your methods reflect both tradition and adaptation. Brush over the body as if to reassure it, a gesture you know carries no literal power but feels deeply human. You've learned that the best morticians treat their work with a blend of respect and gentle affection, a way to ease the transition not only for the deceased, but for themselves. During these weeks, you sometimes notice small insects circling nearby, a reminder of life's persistence amid death. You've read that ancient Egyptians took measures to prevent infestation, such as sealing doorways and burning incense to ward off unwanted guests. There's a faint smile in your mind recalling a joke among the apprentices about the pesky desert flies as unwelcome mourners at your workshops. The air in the drying chamber is dry and still, the faint scent of natron mixing with lingering aromas of myrrh and cedar. You keep the space clean, often dusting the wooden slats and refreshing the natron as needed. This care ensures the body desiccates evenly, maintaining the shape and dignity so vital for the soul's recognition. You reflect on how the drying process is both a physical and symbolic act, letting go of the watery, changeable life and embracing the solid, eternal form. It's a profound transformation, echoed in the rituals and prayers, whispered softly in the background, reminding all present of the promise of immortality. As you step back to observe your work, the body appears almost statue-like, still and serene, a silent monument to a life once lived. You prepare your mind for the next phase, the intricate and painstaking task of wrapping, knowing that each linen layer adds another veil of protection and reverence. The day's light wanes gently outside your courtyard walls, but inside, the process continues, quiet and unwavering. Your role as the guardian between worlds feels heavier now, but also more meaningful. With the body now fully dried and transformed by the natron's slow, meticulous work, you begin the intricate task of wrapping, a step that demands patience, precision, and a steady hand. You unfurl the fine linen strips, soft to the touch, each one prepared and blessed in advance. The wrapping isn't merely practical. It is an art, a ritual, and a final embrace, sealing the body in layers of protection and reverence. You start with the fingers, carefully wrapping each one individually, a painstaking process that reminds you of the delicate weaving your mother once showed you in the market. The tactile sensation of the linen against the skin is strangely soothing, almost like a gentle caress. You wrap each finger slowly, then move to the hands, wrists, and arms, ensuring no spot is left exposed. The process is long, and your fingers occasionally tangle in the strips, a minor frustration that elicits a quiet chuckle. Apprentices often struggle here, some joking that their fingers end up more wrapped than the body itself. You remember once seeing a young novice accidentally bind his own hand mid-process. Fortunately, it was easily freed with a careful tug. As you work, you recite softly the protective prayers you learned from the papyrus scrolls resting nearby. These incantations are believed to guard the deceased from harm, to guide their spirit safely through the underworld, and to ensure a peaceful rebirth in the afterlife. Your voice is low and steady, a gentle rhythm that harmonizes with the wrapping motions. You pause occasionally to adjust the linen, smoothing out wrinkles and making sure each layer lies flat against the skin. The subtle rustling of the fabric fills the quiet courtyard, punctuated only by your breathing and the distant calls of birds. You find a certain calm in this repetitive task, a momentary escape from the weight of the day's earlier duties. An intriguing fact from your training crosses your mind. The number of linen layers and the pattern of wrapping could vary depending on the deceased's social status. Nobles might have dozens of layers, with small amulets woven between, while commoners had simpler wraps. You marvel at how even in death, society's structures continue to shape the body's journey. Historians still debate the extent to which these variations were strictly adhered to or softened by local customs. You've heard stories of morticians bending the rules gently to ease a grieving family's wishes or to adapt to material shortages. Such flexibility adds a human touch to your otherwise exacting craft. As you wrap the torso, you carefully place small amulets between layers, each one a charm against evil, a symbol of protection or resurrection. You remember placing a tiny scarab beetle once, its smooth surface cool between the folds of linen. These amulets bring a bit of lightness to the somber process, tangible tokens of hope woven into fabric. You finish the arms and move down to the legs, wrapping them slowly, layer by layer. The body begins to take on a new shape, one that is both cocoon and monument, a vessel prepared for eternity. Each layer adds a whisper of softness, a shield against the long journey ahead. By the time you reach the feet, the sun is low, casting golden hues over the courtyard. You step back for a moment, admiring your work so far. A carefully wrapped figure that looks almost like a sculpture, serene and timeless. There's a quiet satisfaction in completing this phase, knowing that each fold is an act of love and respect. You remind yourself that this wrapping is more than preservation. It's a final farewell, a binding promise that the spirit will live on. With the day drawing to a close, you prepare for the next phase, placing amulets and reciting the sacred spells that will safeguard the journey beyond death. But for now, you savor the peaceful rhythm of the linen and the soft embrace it offers. The soft twilight settles over the courtyard as you begin placing the amulets, tiny treasures imbued with protection and ancient power, between the layers of linen wrapping. Each charm carries its own significance. The Eye of Horus for safety, the Ankh for eternal life, the scarab beetle for rebirth. These are not mere decorations. They are guardians woven into the very fabric that encases the body. You hold each amulet carefully, feeling the smooth stone or polished faience between your fingers. The small weight of these charms contrasts with the immensity of their purpose. Placing them in the right spots, over the heart, near the throat, at the wrists, requires both knowledge and devotion. You whisper protective prayers as you work, your voice barely audible, blending with the evening breeze. There's a strange comfort in this ritual, a moment when your hands move slowly and deliberately, as if time itself pauses. You recall a funny story from your early days as an apprentice, when you accidentally dropped a small amulet into the natron pile and spent hours searching for it. Your mentor teased you mercilessly, saying the gods were testing your attentiveness. Historians still debate whether the specific placement of amulets was strictly followed or varied with individual morticians' discretion and the deceased's status. You tend to believe in a blend of both, tradition guiding the general practice, but room for personal care and adaptation. As you continue, you softly chant the spells written on papyrus scrolls laid nearby. These incantations are meant to protect the deceased spirit, ward off evil, and ensure safe passage through the underworld's many trials. Your voice is low, almost a hum, lulling both you and the body into a calm state. The scent of burning incense curls in the air, a mixture of frankincense and myrrh that mingles with the cool night breeze. This aroma is synonymous with the sacred, the otherworldly. It reminds you that your work is a bridge between life and whatever lies beyond. Occasionally, a breeze lifts a corner of the linen, revealing a glimpse of the smooth, pale skin beneath. Now preserved almost perfectly by your careful care, the body seems peaceful, as if sleeping in a gentle cradle woven by your hands. You place the final amulets with reverence, feeling a quiet pride in the knowledge that these small objects carry immense spiritual weight. They are sentinels against harm, companions for the spirit's journey, and silent witnesses to your devotion. A familiar debate echoes in your mind. Some scholars wonder if the amulet's power was symbolic, or if morticians genuinely believed in their protective magic. You suspect it was both, a blending of faith and tradition that gave comfort to the living and honor to the dead. As you finish, you wrap the last strips of linen around the body, sealing in the amulets like secrets kept close. The figure before you is now a sacred bundle, prepared to face the journey ahead. The courtyard darkens further, stars beginning to twinkle overhead. Your work for the day nears completion, but your mind lingers on the stories each amulet carries. Stories of gods and mortals intertwined in the eternal dance of life and death. You pause, breathing deeply, letting the serenity of the moment wash over you before preparing for the final wrapping details. The mask, the last linens, and the sealing of the sacred package. As darkness gently blankets the courtyard, you prepare to add the final wrapping details. The mask, additional linen layers, and the sealing of the entire bundle. The funerary mask, crafted with care from cartonnage or sometimes gold leaf for the wealthiest, lies ready. Its serene face mirrors that of the deceased, a timeless visage meant to both protect and represent the spirit in the afterlife. Carefully, feeling its smooth weight in your hands, placing it over the wrapped head is a moment filled with solemnity. The mask's calm expression seems almost to breathe, a silent guardian watching over the soul's journey. You remember hearing that some families commissioned personalized masks featuring idealized features, blending reality with divine perfection, a beautiful paradox that still fascinates scholars today. Wrapping continues as you add more linen, strips this time with careful attention to the final appearance. You smooth out every fold, eliminating wrinkles, and binding the layers tightly but gently. The body now takes on a form both familiar and otherworldly, resembling a sacred cocoon. You work slowly, mindful that each turn of the linen is a step closer to eternity. As you seal the final layers, you apply a resinous balm that glistens under the flickering torchlight. This sticky coating is both protective and symbolic, believed to safeguard the body from corruption. The smell is rich: pine, cedar, and myrrh, a perfume for the dead that has become part of your daily life. There's a quiet humor that occasionally surfaces amidst this serious work. You recall a time when an apprentice accidentally glued his fingers together with the resin and had to be freed by a patient colleague, who joked that the boy had been mummified alive. These moments lighten the atmosphere, reminding you that even in the face of death, life's small absurdities persist. Historians still debate the precise composition of embalming resins and their origins. Some suggest they were imported from far-flung lands, others believe local sources sufficed. You know from experience that the best resins come from distant cedars. Their scent unlike anything else on earth. As you finish, you step back to admire the work. The body is no longer just a corpse. It has been transformed into a sacred vessel, ready to face the mysteries of the afterlife. You feel a profound sense of accomplishment, mixed with the quiet exhaustion that comes from hours of meticulous labor. You take a moment to clean your tools, preparing them for the next day. The courtyard is silent now, save for the gentle rustling of linen and the occasional distant call of a nightbird. You breathe deeply, feeling the weight of your role as both craftsman and spiritual guide. The night air cools your skin as you contemplate the next steps ahead. Preparing the coffin, decorating it with prayers, and participating in the ceremonies that will send this soul on its final journey. But for now, you let the stillness settle over you. Your hands, once busy with wrapping and sealing, rest quietly in your lap. You remind yourself gently that every fold, every charm, every whispered prayer is part of a larger story, one of life, death, and the hope of renewal. With the body now fully wrapped and sealed, your attention turns to preparing the coffin, the final earthly vessel that will cradle the deceased on their journey beyond. The coffin is not merely a container. It is a sacred space, adorned with prayers, symbols, and images that protect and guide the soul through the underworld's labyrinth. You approach the workshop where the wooden coffin awaits, freshly carved. From cedar or sycamore, its surface smooth to the touch and promising durability. The outer panels are already painted with vivid scenes of gods, protective deities, and hieroglyphs, invoking blessings for eternal life. Your task is to inscribe additional prayers and add final touches that personalize the coffin for its occupant. Using fine brushes and mineral-based paints, you carefully trace ancient spells along the sides, words that call upon Anubis, Osiris, and Thoth to guard the body and assist in judgment. The colors are vibrant even in the dim light: deep blues, rich reds, and shimmering golds. Each symbol is placed with intent, a sacred script that transcends mere decoration. You reflect on the importance of these inscriptions. Historians still debate how much the average Egyptian believed in the power of such spells versus seeing them as tradition. From your experience, families found comfort in these prayers, a reassuring ritual that eased the fear of the unknown. One curious fact you recall is that sometimes coffins were nested, one inside another, each layer adding protection, much like the linen wrappings. The wealthiest might have multiple coffins, elaborately decorated, while simpler burials had fewer layers. You've always admired the craftsmanship that goes into each piece, a silent testament to love and respect. As you paint, you hum softly, the rhythm matching your brushstrokes. Nearby, an apprentice sketches additional symbols onto smaller burial boxes designed to hold personal effects and amulets. The atmosphere is reverent but alive with quiet concentration. You carefully affix a protective scarab amulet to the coffin lid, believing in its power to guard the deceased's heart. This tiny symbol is a potent emblem of transformation and rebirth. fitting for a journey that moves beyond the physical realm. While working, you remember a light-hearted moment from your guild. How once a coffin was accidentally painted upside down, prompting amused jokes about the deceased taking a head-first trip to the afterlife. Mistakes like these, though rare, remind you that even in solemn work, human fallibility is ever present. The smell of fresh wood mingles with resins and paints, a sensory reminder of both creation and finality. You step back periodically, assessing the coffin's appearance. It looks dignified and strong, a worthy guardian for the sacred bundle you wrapped so carefully. As daylight fades, you cover the coffin with a cloth to protect the artwork until the next day's ceremonies. Your hands feel tired but steady, having poured skill and spirit into this important phase. Preparing the coffin is more than craftsmanship. It's an act of devotion. You know the care invested here will comfort the living and honor the dead, a tangible expression of hope for eternal peace. With your tasks complete for now, you ready yourself for the ritual offerings and prayers that will soon follow, knowing each step brings the soul closer to its promised rest. The day's work gently shifts from the physical preparation of the body and coffin to the sacred ceremonies that honor the deceased's passage. Ritual offerings are brought forth, and you join the priests and family members in a quiet courtyard near the tomb, where fragrant smoke curls lazily upward, mingling with the soft murmurs of prayers. You watch as the offerings are arranged. Bowls of fresh bread, sweet dates, and carefully prepared meats placed with reverence on an altar. Libations of water and wine are poured slowly, their shimmering surfaces catching the flickering torchlight. Each item symbolizes nourishment for the soul on its journey, a reminder that even beyond death, sustenance is necessary. As you participate in the ceremony, you feel the gentle pull of tradition. This is not only a farewell but a celebration of life and continuity. The chants rise and fall like waves, the rhythmic cadence wrapping around you like a comforting shawl. You remember learning that the opening of the mouth ritual, often performed here, was meant to restore the senses to the deceased, allowing them to eat, speak, and breathe in the afterlife. Historians still debate the exact origins of these rites, whether they evolved from older funerary customs or were influenced by religious reforms over time. Regardless, their importance remains undiminished in your eyes and in the eyes of those gathered. You notice a small smile cross the face of an elder priest as he carefully touches the lips and eyes of the mummy, performing the sacred gestures. This moment feels profound, a liminal threshold between worlds that you witness but cannot fully cross. The scent of incense thickens, mingling with the earthy aroma of papyrus mats and polished stone. You breathe deeply, allowing the calm and solemnity to seep into your bones. There's an unspoken bond here, between the living and the dead, the mortal and the divine, that you are privileged to be part of. A light-hearted thought flickers through your mind, recalling how once an apprentice mispronounced a key prayer during the ritual, prompting stifled giggles among the younger attendants. Even in these solemn moments, human imperfections find their place, reminding all present of life's unpredictability. As the ceremony concludes, the family offers silent thanks, their faces a mixture of grief and hope. You feel honored to have played a role in this sacred passage, the last earthly service before the soul's final departure. With the offerings complete, preparations begin for the body's journey to the tomb. You quietly return to your workshop to ready the final tasks, knowing that every step, every prayer, is woven into the tapestry of eternity. The sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch like gentle arms over the land. Your day, filled with ritual, care, and quiet reflection, nears its close, but the journey continues. The dawn greets you as the procession begins its solemn journey from the embalming workshop to the tomb, a transition that feels both physical and spiritual. You walk alongside the others, feeling the weight of the sacred bundle you prepared resting on the shoulders of the bearers. The morning air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of lotus flowers and incense, mingling with the earthy aroma of the Nile's banks. The route winds through bustling streets, now quiet in the early hour. Vendors set up their stalls, children play nearby, and farmers lead their animals to water. Life pulses gently around you, seemingly unaware of the somber caravan threading through its midst. Yet you know that this journey is as important as the embalming itself, a passage from one world to another. It's an honor and a responsibility. The bearers move rhythmically, steps measured and slow, as if echoing the heartbeat of the departed. You recall a whispered tale among your peers. Sometimes mourners would carry miniature models of the deceased's possessions, ensuring comfort in the afterlife. Such practices, while not universal, add layers of meaning to the procession. Historians still debate how much the procession's path was determined by spiritual considerations versus practical ones. Some argue the route was symbolic, passing sacred sites to gather blessings, while others see it as simply the most direct way to the tomb. You suspect it was a bit of both, a blend of faith and function that fits the Egyptian way. Along the way, you observe small groups of onlookers, some offering quiet prayers, others merely curious. You note the respectful distance kept by all, a silent acknowledgement of death's place in life. Occasionally, a child's gaze lingers longer, perhaps sensing the mystery of what you carry. The tomb itself emerges from the desert landscape like a quiet fortress, an earthly home built to guard and honor the body within. Its walls are adorned with hieroglyphs and painted scenes depicting the deceased's journey through the afterlife, gods offering protection, and symbols of rebirth. The artistry and craftsmanship speak of hope and reverence. You help carry the sacred bundle into the cool, shadowed interior, feeling the air shift as you cross the threshold from the world of the living to the realm of memory and spirit. Inside, the silence is profound, punctuated only by the soft shuffle of feet and the faint echo of prayers. Your role here is almost complete, but you assist in placing the body carefully on its stone slab, surrounded by offerings and protective symbols. The canopic jars you prepared are set nearby, their guardianship extending even into this quiet chamber. You reflect on the journey, how every step from the bustling streets to this serene space is layered with meaning, each movement a part of the soul's passage. This procession is not just a ritual, it's a bridge, connecting the earthly and eternal. As you settle the body in place, you feel a mix of relief and solemn pride. The transformation is nearing its end, yet the spirit's journey is just beginning. Outside, the sun climbs higher, casting golden light through the tomb's entrance. You linger a moment longer, breathing in the cool air, the mingled scents of stone, incense, and ancient cedar. Your thoughts turn to the next steps, sealing the tomb and ensuring the body's eternal safety. But for now, you rest in the quiet dignity of this place. With the body carefully placed within the tomb, your next task is the sealing, both physical and spiritual, of this sacred resting place. The tomb's entrance is adorned with protective symbols and inscriptions, meant to safeguard the deceased against any threats, both earthly and supernatural. You work with reverence, knowing that once sealed, the body's journey into eternity truly begins. You begin by carefully positioning large stone slabs or heavy wooden doors to close the tomb's entryway. Each piece is moved with deliberate care, as if tucking the soul gently into a final embrace. The weight of these barriers is immense, but so is their symbolic power. They represent a boundary, a veil between the living world and the afterlife. As the last stone slides into place, you sprinkle a mixture of natron and fragrant resins along the seams, a practice believed to purify and protect. The scent rises, mingling with the cool, still air inside the tomb, creating a sense of sacred stillness. You breathe deeply, feeling the gravity of the moment settle over you like a heavy cloak. You recall that in some cases, the sealing was accompanied by ritual prayers and offerings to the gods, especially Anubis, the protector of the dead. These invocations are meant to ensure the tomb remains undisturbed and that the spirit is free to journey safely through the underworld's many trials. Historians still argue about how much the physical sealing deterred tomb robbers versus its symbolic meaning. Some believe the elaborate curses and inscriptions were more about spiritual protection than actual security, while others point to hidden chambers and traps designed to ward off intruders. As you stand back, the tomb now fully sealed, you feel a profound mixture of finality and hope. This act is the culmination of your work, the last earthly duty before the mysteries of death take over. The silence here is thick and complete, broken only by the soft sound of your own breath. Your mind wanders briefly to tales passed down among morticians, stories of tombs disturbed and spirits restless, reminding you why the rituals and seals are so carefully observed. These stories serve both as warnings and as testaments to the power believed to reside within these ancient walls. The desert sun outside beats down relentlessly, but inside the tomb, the air is cool and still, holding the promise of eternity. You take a moment to reflect on the delicate balance between honoring the dead and protecting their resting place from the living's curiosity or greed. With the sealing complete, your role in this sacred passage draws near to its end. Yet the impact of your work will ripple through generations, a lasting testament to the faith and care that define your craft. You gather your tools and offerings, taking one last look at the sealed tomb before stepping back into the bright desert. Light. The world feels different here, quiet, timeless, and touched by the sacred. As you walk away, the weight of responsibility begins to lift, replaced by a gentle calm. The body is safe, the spirit protected, and your work as guardian of transition fulfilled. After days steeped in solemn duties and sacred rites, you find moments to return to the rhythms of daily life, a balance between the spiritual weight of your work and the simple human need for rest, nourishment, and companionship. In the shade of a palm grove near the river, you sit with fellow morticians, sharing bread dipped in honey and cool water from clay jars. The conversation light, despite the gravity of your shared profession. You notice the laughter bubbling up, easily, a reminder that even those who work with death must celebrate life's small joys. Stories of past embalmings mix with jokes about slippery linens and stubborn natron dust. One colleague recounts an apprentice's hilarious attempt to balance a canopic jar on his head, eliciting chuckles that echo softly through the palm fronds. Historians still argue about how closely bonded morticians were outside of work. Some texts suggest they formed tight-knit communities, sharing meals and stories, while others imply a more solitary existence. From your experience, the camaraderie here is a vital balm, easing the emotional toll of your duties. You glance across the group and catch the eye of a young apprentice, eager but nervous. You offer a reassuring smile, recalling your own first days, how you trembled handling the sharp tools and recited prayers under your breath, afraid of missteps. Now, with years of practice, the motions feel second nature, and the weight of responsibility a familiar companion. The afternoon sun filters through the palm leaves, dappling the ground with patterns of light and shadow. The scent of blooming acacia mingles with the earthy aroma of baked clay. You breathe deeply, savoring this pause, a rare moment where death feels distant, replaced by the warmth of friendship and the softness of the natural world. Your thoughts drift to conversations held earlier, debates about the best recipes for bread to sustain energy during long embalming sessions, or the merits of various herbal teas to soothe tired hands. These practical concerns ground you, tethering the sacred work to everyday life. A light-hearted memory surfaces, how once an apprentice accidentally wrapped himself in linen, eliciting a round of amused laughter and a quick rescue. Such moments remind you that your guild, though devoted to the dead, is alive with humor and humanity. As shadows lengthen, the group disperses slowly, returning to their duties or homes. You feel refreshed yet contemplative, aware that tomorrow will bring new challenges and ceremonies. For now, the simple pleasures of food, laughter, and companionship fill the space between your sacred tasks. You rise, brushing dust from your tunic, and cast one last glance at the river's shimmering surface. The water flows onward, indifferent, yet eternal, a fitting metaphor for your work, caught between the transient and the everlasting. Returning to your quarters, you prepare for rest, knowing that your hands will soon be called back to the sacred task of guiding souls beyond the veil. The balance between life and death, work and respite, is delicate and necessary. Tonight, as you lay down beneath the stars, you carry with you the quiet strength of your craft and the soft bonds of community that sustain you through each day. As the day fades into night and the stars wheel overhead, you find yourself reflecting quietly on the profound nature of your work, the delicate balance between the earthly and the eternal. Each body you prepare is a story, a lifetime folded into layers of linen, salt, and prayer. You think about the legacy you help create, the bridge you build between life and the afterlife. In these moments of contemplation, your mind drifts to the beliefs that guide your craft. You recall how the heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and balance, in the hall of judgment, a trial that determined the soul's fate. Your hands may never touch that moment, but your work makes it possible, preserving the vessel that carries the essence of a person. How much the average Egyptian truly understood the afterlife's complexities, or if these ideas were mostly the province of priests and nobility. Yet, regardless of belief, your role remains vital, offering dignity and hope to all who pass through your care. You remember the stories shared among your guild, tales of spirits journeying safely thanks to meticulous embalming, of families comforted by the rituals, and of morticians like yourself who found purpose in this sacred labor. It is a tradition woven through generations, a craft passed down with reverence and care. The night air is cool and still. You sit beneath the vast sky, feeling a deep connection to the land, the river, and the countless souls whose passage you have guided. The soft rustle of linen and the distant call of an owl punctuate the silence, wrapping you in a gentle embrace. Your thoughts turn to the future, to apprentices who will carry this knowledge forward, adapting and preserving the ancient arts in a changing world. You feel a quiet pride knowing you are part of this enduring legacy. Slowly, your breathing deepens, and your body relaxes. The cares of the day drift away like desert sands on the wind. You close your eyes, imagining the peaceful repose of the souls you have prepared, resting eternally beneath the golden sun. In this quiet moment, you are both craftsman and witness, a guardian of transition, a keeper of sacred secrets. Your work is complete, yet its echoes will linger through time, a soft whisper in the vast tapestry of existence. Rest now, knowing that death is not an end but a gentle passage, and your hands have helped make that journey possible.